I watched and ranked the highest rated episode from all 11 Spider-Man cartoons, according to IMDb, to find out what the best one is, what the worst one is, and everything webbed up in between. Let's swing right into it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. For each one of these cartoons, I'm also going to rank the title sequence on a separate tier list. Spider-Man 1967 gets an S tier. I don't think I need to explain why.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Now into the actual episode. Spider-Man 1967's highest rated episode is a 2-in-1 situation, as in 2 10-minute episodes crammed into a 20-minute time slot. So we got To Catch a Spider and Double Identity. And I think you're gonna be very happy with this episode selection because they are the origins of a couple memes you probably know about. Starting off with To Catch a Spider. So the episode starts with the boys!
We shall succeed together in destroying Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, so basically, episode starts out, jail, thunder! This police guard gets knocked out. Invisible Man, keys. Jail cell number 1, I think that was. Oh! I'm sorry, is that crazy? Like, look at the lumps on that blanket.
Who's there?
You're almost free.
The Invisible Man breaks out Vulture, Electro, and Green Goblin, and they meet up at this antique shop. I don't know what this is. It's just a room. It's the Invisible Man's hideout, as if he needs one of those.
Why did you bring us here?
I am Dr. Noah-Body.
Sorry, his name's actually Dr. Noah-Body. Anyways, Dr. Noah-Body, who's basically just a chair throughout this entire episode, explained to the villains that they've all failed to catch Spider-Man individually, so if they work together, they can destroy him once and for all. Because they can't say kill. It's 1967, they haven't discovered it yet. And that's the entire motivation. Everyone's super down, you can see for yourself. So after they form this team, naturally, the first thing they do is all attack Spider-Man individually. But surprisingly enough, they all kind of ruin Spider-Man.
A little goblin dust, Spider-Man?
I can't see.
But Spider-Man doesn't learn from his mistakes. Again, Spider-Man just tanks it. Okay, then Green Goblin flies away in a different art style. That's weird. The next night, the Vulture attacks and also destroys Spider-Man. While looking great doing it. Oh my god. Oh, and he can teleport now. Anyways, Vulture leaves and Electro comes in. He says to Spider-Man,
Meet us at midnight tonight and be prepared for your finale.
this was a terrible plan. They form a team to kill Spider-Man, but then each one of them gets the chance to kill him individually and don't go through with it any of those times. Instead, they all give away that they are in a team and tell him to meet at the docks at 12, giving Spider-Man enough time to think this through and come up with a plan to defeat them all. Dumbasses. Anyways, that's what Spider-Man does. He just comes up with a plan to defeat them.
Who's the brain behind this caper? It's not Electro. Goblin would take first prize in a stupidity contest, and Vulture's got birdseed for a brain. Just one person who could enter a prison without being seen. Dr. Noah-Body.
Feels bad Electro didn't even consider him for a second. Anyways, all the villains and Spider-Man meet at the docks to settle this once and for all. And the method Spider-Man uses to defeat all the villains is ventriloquism. The art of making it sound like your voice is coming from somewhere else, which is an impressive skill.
See how it's done for brain?
By you walking fuse box.
But unfortunately, completely unnecessary for Spider-Man. He wears a mask. We can't see your mouth.
He got away! Of course he has. What have you got for brains? Pumpkin seeds? I'll cut off your current for good, you!
But anyways, he took out 4 of his greatest foes with ventriloquism.
Oh no!
And web baseball bat. Thank God for web baseball bat. Vulture was spawning bombs out of nowhere, but that was no match for ventriloquism.
I took a crash course in ventriloquism.
Those insults, Electro and Vulture.
I did a pretty good job, wouldn't you say?
And then the episode ends. Okay, moving on to the second episode in this 2-parter. Double Identity. This episode starts with Peter Parker stealing a book. But then Spider-Man shows up and is like,
Walloping web snappers, it's me!
I don't know what that means, but it sounds awesome. He tries to stop the imposter, but unfortunately, he gets away with the help of a driver. This bothers Spider-Man immensely.
This really bugs me.
It really bugs him. The next day, we see JJJ react to the news that Peter Parker robbed a bookstore. And, he just doesn't believe it. So there's no repercussions. Straying from the status quo didn't exist in the 60s. They hadn't invented it yet. We then cut to a guy named Charles Cameo, who takes off his Peter Parker mask and monologues to just himself. That 1, he's evil. 2, he steals works of art. And 3, is an actor. Cool, man, thanks. I didn't want an engaging mystery running throughout this episode anyways. Charles Cameo then steals steal some more art as Picasso, because he was alive in the 60s, isn't that crazy?
That looks like Salvatore Picasso.
And as J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man tries to stop it both times, but the first time he slips on some paint like this.
I'll take care of Spider-Man.
I think I just created a work of art.
Or he is straight up shot. J. Jonah Jameson gets word that someone impersonated him and gets crazy mad. He thinks it's Spider-Man, of course.
The nerve of that swindling spiderhead.
So he stages a delivery of some expensive tapestry and hides behind some boxes with a police officer to catch Spider-Man in the act. So when Charles' cameo as Spider-Man drops down, JJ is like,
I told you. Now capture him.
but then the real Spider-Man drops down and the police officer is like,
Which one? I don't care which one. Get them both.
and his voice gets really high. But now the moment you've all been waiting for. They point at each other. It's crazy. They then start fighting. Charles' cameo obviously loses because he's not the real Spider-Man. You eventually figure this out because he just stops using the Spider-Man voice and starts calling for his driver to help him.
Brutus, save me.
The police officer unmasks the fake Spider-Man and he's bald. And that's the end of the episode. Okay, it's thoughts time. Time for my thoughts now. Generally, I'm gonna be basing my review and ranking on the writing, plot, characters, world building, etc. How much I like Spider-Man and the art direction. So, based on all those things, I mean, yeah, the show objectively sucks. The plots of each episode are paper thin and sometimes completely outlandish. Things just happen until Spider-Man figures everything out and what to do to take down the villains. Speaking of the villains, they have no motivations outside money or vengeance. Every character basically has one personality trait with no signs of any depth at all. Spider-Man doesn't even feel like the character we know and love today. He sounds and acts like someone named John Smith.
Hello? Anyone here? Guess they chickened out.
And the art is crazy dated. Sometimes the characters just don't even move at all in a shot. And animation errors are very common to come by. But at the same time, all these negatives are also what makes this show so charming. I kind of love how simple everything is and how little anything makes sense. It makes for a very pure cartoon that isn't focused on anything besides delivering a good time. The villains are delightfully dumb and goofy. I like that J. Jonah Jameson just hates Spider-Man for seemingly no reason. And I also like that Spider-Man just wants to save the day and also doesn't take anything too seriously, which you can tell by the amount of puns he's throwing out.
Wondering why you're still alive?
What's the matter? Forget to pay your electric bill?
Some of which actually land as well. Maybe just because of how terrible they are, but they still hit all the same. And the art, in a weird way, it's kind of cool. It's colorful and retro, it's an aesthetic. Like, honestly, I would take a show that looks like this over some of the newer animated series. So, I'm gonna put Spider-Man 1967 in B tier. It's not good, but I still kind of love it.
Spider-Man.
I feel like in a lot of cases, this is the forgotten Spider-Man cartoon. This one only had one season. It wasn't fantastically reviewed. So, let's see if we got a hidden gem on our hands. But first, to rank the title sequence, it's alright. The music gets the job done. It feels somewhat Spider-Man. The visuals are also fine. It's just clips from the show. So I'm gonna give it a C tier. But now, into the episode. Spider-Man 1981, The Capture of Captain America. Rated 7.2 on IMDb. So this episode starts with J. Jonah Jameson showing the Daily Bugle crew his appreciation of Captain America. After all, he is his boyhood idol.
Why, Jonah, you sound like Cap was a boyhood idol of yours.
Boyhood. Ugh. J. Jonah Jameson proposes a Captain America Day. He's an American hero, why not celebrate him? So that's what they do. But before this goes into motion, we cut to Red Skull and his scientist companion, Neiman. All you gotta know about these two is it's a toxic relationship. Red Skull is constantly calling Neiman ugly, and it's totally unnecessary.
But first, comb your hair. Your lack of grooming is intolerable.
We then cut back to Captain America Day. Just before J. Jonah Jameson is about to introduce Captain America, Peter's spider sense goes off.
Uh-oh. According to my spider sense, we've got trouble.
And then he says that right next to Betty Brant, but she doesn't clock it, so I guess it's fine. Captain America jumps onto stage and thanks the folks of New York. Before he can get too deep into his speech, a gas cloud consumes J. Jonah Jameson and turns him into the Red Skull. The real J. Jonah Jameson hops out from behind the bushes. He doesn't know what the blazes is going on here.
Hey, what the blazes business is going on here?
And honestly, I don't know either. Can someone remind me of a time that Red Skull had gas that could change his face? Because I can't think of one. Anyways, Red Skull captures Captain America. What a surprise. Spider-Man fails to rescue him, but he does get a spider tracker on the jet they escape on. But what happens next will blow your mind. J. Jonah Jameson in classic form is like,
It's your fault our great hero was captured by the Red Skull.
Who? Me?
even though Spider-Man was basically unconscious the entire time. But what is unusual is the rest of the city kind of gets behind it this time. Even Betty Brant.
I used to think Mr. Jameson was wrong about you, Spider-Man. But now...
Spider-Man swings away from the mob of angry crowd, but somehow in the process rips down an American flag. That's kind of a bad look. We cut to Peter Parker in the Daily Bugle talking to Robbie Robertson. Peter says,
Maybe Mr. Jameson is right. Maybe deep down inside, Spider-Man was jealous of Captain America. Maybe without realizing it, Spider-Man wanted Cap to be captured.
which is a really cool character moment. Again, I don't think it really makes much sense. Spider-Man was unconscious the entire time. He couldn't have done anything differently if he tried. But still, we still get some insight into Spider-Man's character, and that's more than I can say for a couple of these older cartoons. We then cut back to Red Skull's castle, where he has Captain America tied up.
Imagine what the outcome will be when the two of us are subjected to this full-scale mind transfer machine.
Yeah, so Red Skull wants to switch bodies with Captain America, so it's easier for him to take over the world. Call this character motivation shallow, but kind of makes sense for Red Skull. He's a German from the 1940s. What I have a bigger problem with is, can't he already switch bodies? He's already done it once in this episode, and he didn't have to kidnap J. Jonah Jameson to do it. Kind of a huge plot hole. Kind of derails the whole episode. But we move on. So, yeah, Spider-Man comes in and saves Captain America. The two superheroes then beat up the Red Skull, but in a crazy turn of events, while Red Skull happens to be sitting in the body switching device, Neiman activates it, sucking Red Skull's soul out of his body and into thin air. He's brain dead. That's dark. I think straight up killing him would have been more lighthearted.
He should not have called me ugly and all those other names.
Spider-Man and Captain America show up at Captain America Day.
To me, you're A-OK, Spider-Man, and a real American.
Thanks, Cap.
So I guess Spider-Man proved himself. I don't know why he had any doubt. He did a pretty good job throughout all of this episode, but now he knows for sure. My expectation was that Spider-Man 1981 would basically be Spider-Man 1967, but without the charm or excuse that it was the first of its kind. But no, this episode was solid. It didn't do anything that blew me away, but I was often surprised by its quality. The animation was surprisingly smooth. There was no crazy dynamic action, but the characters moved quite naturally and never really came across as janky, except for a couple minor coloring errors. Spider-Man was much better in this series. He had some solid line deliveries, quips, and comes across as more youthful.
Well, I never said that Skull was original. Evil, yes, but original?
He also has a really good character moment in the episode, which I talked about in the recap. It is spelled out really obviously though, and it doesn't really make that much sense. But again, it's still cool to get a glimpse into what Spider-Man thinks and feels throughout the episode. I think the story unfolds pretty naturally. Red Skull's plan is understandable and interesting, even if it is to take over the world. Yeah, I mean, nothing blew me away, like I said. I thought it would be bad, so when it wasn't, I was surprised, but that's not to say it was amazing either. I'm gonna give Spider-Man 1981 a C.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Okay, starting off with the title sequence, it's not great. It's a worse version of Spider-Man 1981, which this show is obviously connected to. The music sounds way more generic in this one, a lot more one note, mindlessly cheery the entire time. The chimes also really annoy me for some reason. And when the guy says,
Iceman and Firestar.
it's awkward and I don't like it. The title sequence gets an E. A Firestar is born. Okay, so the episode starts with Firestar in her building. Iceman comes in and is like,
Have you forgotten what day it is?
she didn't remember.
That's right. We'll have to hurry.
Today is the day of the X-Men reunion, because apparently they're both X-Men. I knew that about Iceman, but I didn't know that about Firestar, and that's because she was literally created for this show. Spider-Man, sadly, he wants to go, but they're like,
Sorry, Spidey. This is for X-Men only.
kind of a sick play. I'm not loving her tone, but that's unfortunate for me because it's the exact same tone for the entire episode. But things only get worse because Juggernaut attacks. Spider-Man gets trapped under rubble. But if you're worried for him at all, clearly you've never seen any Spider-Man cartoon. It happens more in this video, you'll see. But then we cut to the X-Men. Xavier's like,
We're very happy to have you back.
It's wonderful
Wonderful to see you again, Professor.
Storm's like, so Firestar, how did you get your start at the X-Men? And then we go into her backstory, which is what the entire episode is about. And you might think at first, this is good. This is character development. And it's like, yeah, I guess. It just sucks that her character is the most generic in the world. So we go back in time to when Firestar, or Angelica, was a kid. And guess what? She's bullied and poor, but at the end of the day, she always tries to do the right thing. She eventually learns she has powers and then starts to put them to good use. But having powers wasn't always easy. We also see the first time Firestar became Firestar, I guess. Kind of a weird story. It doesn't make her the most heroic, but her bully basically stole a trophy from her school and then blamed Angelica for it. So in reaction to this, Angelica grabs her school bully, lifts her up in front of the entire school, and basically torments her until she admits that she was the one that stole the trophy. It's kind of petty. I guess it's human. Not exactly heroic, but everyone seems to like her afterwards, I guess.
Don't go any further. The ice-astounding, ice-amazing Iceman at your service.
X-Men show up right at the end and ask if she wants to join the team. And she's like, yes! Like, these people are not real. So yeah, that's the end of her origin story. Oh god, Juggernaut's breaking into the Xavier's gifted school of gifted youngsters. Good thing it's not tense at all.
Hold it, bullet head. You'll have to go through us first.
I'm not worried even slightly. The music is so upbeat, you would think this is a circus. And the episode ends. So, I didn't really like Spider-Man and his amazing friends. It feels like they took Spider-Man 1981 and took the edge off it or something. I know there's not much edge in Spider-Man 1981, but the characters felt slightly more real. The plot felt like it had some levels of thought put into it to create stakes. And there were some more serious moments. Spider-Man and his amazing friends comes across so much more kiddie. All the characters feel very one-note again, like they have one personality trait. The story you think would be good. It dives into Firestar's origin and what made her who she is today. But everything plays out so generically. It's it all turns out great in the end, story. The only good thing was when the bully character tried to get her friends to start teasing Firestar, but then they respond with, nah, I mean, we kind of outgrew that. She's fine, actually.
Oh, come off it, Bonnie. We're too old for name calling.
Which I know, it's not much, but it's the only thing that actually felt real in this episode. This episode also starts and ends fighting Juggernaut, and there's nothing engaging about these sequences. The most overly joyous music is playing in the background, which is just so unengaging. It sucks all of the stakes out of the scene. Spider-Man is also weirdly worse in this than he was in Spider-Man 1981. They got a different voice actor that makes him sound way too animated.
What was that?
It strips all the humanity out of him. He was barely in this episode, but I still noticed it straight away. Also, I think the visuals were worse. Not by much, sure, but still, I think they were worse. This show just feels like a step backwards towards two-dimensional characters, an overly cheery tone, and stiffer animation. I'm giving it a D. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. Please subscribe. That was the commercial. Thank you. Subscribe. Spider-Man, the animated series. I watched a few of these episodes for another video I did on this channel, meaning I have a pretty good idea of what to expect. Insanity. This title sequence is sick. I love looking at all the character designs for the villains. This show has a great art style. And the music, the theme, it's great. It sounds so unique, it's very 90s, but at the same time, fits Spider-Man to this day. A-tier. Spider-Wars, Chapter 2, Farewell Spider-Man. Rated 9.1 on IMDb. It starts with this fight sequence that started in the last episode of the show, but is only finishing off now. So it's actually a really bad idea, considering this is the final episode of the show, and already we wasted like 2 minutes on something that doesn't matter at all. But it's incredibly funny. Spider-Man.
A good magician never reveals his tricks. You did it. You transported the powerless one there.
Yes, but if he fails, I'm now too weak to help him.
Stop! Let me go! War is lost. Stop him! We still have to disarm the bomb. It's powerful enough to blow up this building.
Oh, shoot. Aw, dude. Oh, well.
What? You did it! You saved reality!
Did he? Anyways, the real story starts when this guy, who is a clone of an alternate universe Spider-Man, who originally didn't think he was a clone, but turned out to be a clone, who then got infected by Carnage, who now wants to take away a Spider-Man from a different dimension and replace him so he can become the main Spider-Man again. Goes to this Spider-Man's dimension. What's wrong? What's that? You didn't understand anything I said just now? Okay, basically he's the bad guy, and he wants to mess up this Spider-Man's universe. Our Spider-Man follows him to stop that from happening. And as soon as he gets there, everything's weird. There's something called Peter Parker Industries. He's married to Gwen Stacy. J. Jonah Jameson is his father-in-law. Wilson Fisk is his lawyer. Mary Jane is alive, because, yeah, she died earlier in the show.
She loves Peter Parker more than anything in the world. More than anything.
So this has got to be pretty hard on Spider-Man, right?
We hardly know one another.
That's not true. I love you.
Wow. I'm feeling like it's more hard on me. Also, there's this robot that's voice controlled.
Spider sense danger.
Spider sense danger. I think we know what spider sense means by now.
Robot, put me down.
No, I command you to destroy him.
Put me down.
No, listen only to me.
Put me down.
After encountering all these strange alternate people, Wilson Fisk has Peter follow him to his office, which turns out to be a trap. Wait, spider sense danger? No!
I should have guessed that Wilson Fisk couldn't be trusted.
Like in the last reality we were just in, this clone Spider-Man convinces Wilson Fisk to help him, so they keep Peter locked up. The clone then goes to attend a party as Peter Parker, obviously. But as the clone's giving a speech, the real Spider-Man shows up and exposes him. Yeah, I know he was just locked up. Gwen saved him somehow. Clone Spider-Man loses his mind. He gives up the act almost instantly and tries to destroy the universe.
I'll show you. I'll destroy you all.
Destroy us all?
You were tricked, Fisk.
Why are you believing a guy with a mouth that big? Our Spider-Man is like, I have to start thinking more like Peter Parker, because this guy is Peter Parker.
If I've guessed right, this reality is the only place where that person might still be found.
I wonder who it's gonna be. Whoa!
It's me, Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben talks to the clone for a second, and he instantly breaks down.
I love you too, Uncle Ben.
What's wrong with him?
The clone begins to try rip the carnage off of him.
Fight it with all your heart and soul. Your real heart and soul.
But it hurts too much, so he kills himself. Oh!
Vaporized. I should have stopped him.
No.
It happened in like half a second, bro. I don't blame anything on you. Madam Web returns Peter back to whatever this subliminal spot is. It says, good job, Peter, you did it. You saved the world. But I think I have someone you might want to meet.
And I said to Jack, what if his skin turns green?
I'm looking for some guy named Stan Lee.
What?
This bit is super tacked on. I don't really know why they did it. It's just kind of a cool thing for Stan Lee, I guess. They swing through the city for a bit. They chat a little bit on a roof. Spider-Man confesses how happy he is for the first time. Madam Web then gets Spider-Man and takes him to another reality where MJ is alive. But before you see this, the show ends.
Where to now?
We are going to find the real Mary Jane Watson. I think you are finally entitled to some happiness.
Amen to that, dear lady. Amen to that.
That's it. Kind of a weird ending, I'm not gonna lie. I have a feeling this whole season was kind of leading up to him getting Mary Jane back since, you know, he's going through alternate realities. But then we just don't even see that happen. Spider-Man 1994 is maybe one of the most ADHD-infused shows I've ever seen. Characters are starting new sentences before the other one has even been completely said.
You had your old godfather worried.
My godfather? Hey, where's that cool spider armor?
At times, they cut out the natural gaps in between words to get through a sentence as fast as possible.
I am sending him to a jail. The authorities will find him under lock and key.
And if they slowed down, I think this show could be something truly great. They rushed through so many important moments like seeing MJ alive, Uncle Ben defeating the Spider-Man clone, Stan Lee. All these things alone could have been like 5-minute sequences at least, but they're done in a minute tops. They also had to tie up what happened in the last episode, which only took more time away from the actual series finale, which was a really bad choice. I gotta say, I also didn't love the story or some of the story choices for this episode. I think the idea of saving some random Spider-Man's universe as the finale for this show was a strange choice. Sure, without this setting, you couldn't get a lot of the impactful character appearances we got, but at the same time, none of the characters know are Spider-Man. So these moments aren't as special as they would be if they did. Spider-Man Unlimited is a show that I've heard basically nothing about, but I know it's set in the future, like Batman Beyond, a show that seems a lot better than this one. I don't know, the vibe looks cool though, so we'll see if it's any good. So I really like the vibe of this show, and therefore the title sequence is a really good representation of that vibe. But it's also exactly what you expect a futuristic show to sound and look like. But yeah, nonetheless, I still do like it. So we'll give it a B. 1 is the loneliest number, rated 6.6 on IMDb. So the episode starts with Spider-Man swinging around, but he sees Venom. Spider-Man decides to fight Venom for a bit, but eventually Spider-Man gets crushed under some rubble. He gets out of the rubble. Let's go. After he recovers, Spider-Man then sees Venom being zapped by some lizard men. These lizard men then proceed to take the symbiote off of Eddie Brock and take it away. To where? We don't know. Possibly some lizard society. Spider-Man goes down to Eddie and is like,
"You're on your own, Eddie."
But then he doesn't do that because he remembers this is the 90s and the parents would probably have complaints. He takes Eddie to someone named Dr. Naoko Yamada. Dr. Yamada Jones runs some analysis on Eddie. She comes to the conclusion that without the symbiote, Eddie will die. This has to be an allegory for drugs. We cut to Carnage, who is super mad about his boy being taken. And now, you should know this about me. I love Carnage in this show.
Venom was here. We know it!
But anyways, after a quick fight with Carnage, Spider-Man stumbles across some of the symbiote on the streets. Spider-Man says to himself,
"That thing nearly cost me my sanity the first time. No way I'm getting near it. It's trying to tell me something." "Okay, little guy. Man, I just know I'm gonna regret this."
Spider-Man lets the symbiote bond with him to reveal where the rest of the symbiote has been taken. And then Spider-Man simply just takes it back.
"Sorry, Doc, but your patient's checking out."
But to escape, Spider-Man has to bond with the symbiote, which I think is a really cool idea, but it's not given any gravity at all. Like, this thing almost ruined his life. I feel like there should be more lead up to him putting it on again for the first time. Like, the hesitation is basically non-existent.
"Hey, not on me." It's like I don't have a choice. I'll be your life support. Oh, this could be an even bigger mistake.
And lucky for him, there's no repercussions. Kind of a waste of storyline, but anyways. Spider-Man then gets the symbiote back to the hospital where Eddie is being held, but finds Carnage is already running amok. Carnage is trying to save Eddie, but because Eddie has spent basically 5 minutes alone with, he's convinced he wants to be human again.
"It's not so bad. After all this time, at least I'll die a human."
So he's fighting back against Carnage, no matter what might happen to him. Spider-Man tries to save everyone from Carnage, but is overpowered. So Eddie figures the only way to save is to let the symbiote take control again. But then it just turns him evil again, and Spider-Man has to fight both of them. And he wins, so that's it. That's the episode. Naoko Yamada Jones. I think I just got it. Says to Spider-Man,
"You practically destroyed the clinic."
Which really ruins Spider-Man's day.
Why do I feel like such a failure? Some things don't change. No matter where I go in the universe, everybody hates Spider-Man.
The negative self-talk is really sad to see. And also super misplaced. He just did his job, like far out. I swear it was already destroyed by the time he got there. Spider-Man Unlimited, in my opinion, is sorta mid. It didn't do anything that really engaged me. And more often than not, it almost set up an idea or plot point that could be really cool, but then either rushed through it or basically ignored it. Maybe it isn't fair to judge this episode based on what it isn't, but these storylines need more time to make an engaging episode. And when you don't get that, you're left with a couple action scenes connected by surface level storylines. I also don't even love the Spider-Man in this show. His voice actor lacks a lot of energy and the quips suck.
Let them go first.
With that said, I do like the atmosphere and visuals a lot in this show. I'm gonna give this show a C. I have never seen or really heard anything about or from this show. It looks like the embodiment of the 2000s, so that might be fun. Also, heads up, this is the last episode in the entire show. That's kind of important. This title sequence is kind of lame. That was bad. There was really nothing distinctly Spider-Man about the music in this title sequence. It screamed early 2000s, but not in a good way either. I'm gonna give it D. Mind Games, Part 2. Dude, okay, this episode is crazy. The ending will blow your mind, straight up. It's the last thing I expected to happen. So since this seems to be a pretty serialized show, we start with Spider-Man fighting Kraven. And there's clearly some bad blood.
I'm gonna rip you apart, Kraven.
Craven's right where we said he
We then cut to these two, who have MJ tied up. They talk about the big fight between Kraven and Spider-Man, and how they're counting on Spider-Man to kill Kraven to avenge their parents. We then cut back to the fight. There's blood. Kraven says hell.
Been quite a while since we tangled. Spider-Man.
Yeah, like 6 hours.
What the hell are you talking about?
Spider-Man looks like this, then hangs Kraven. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's gonna hang him. Oh my god.
This is for you, MJ.
So I guess this show is kind of edgy. Sure, that's cool. But of course, Kraven isn't killed. Spider-Man has some kind of realization that something isn't quite right. So he lets Kraven down and asks him,
when was the last time we met face to face, Kravinoff?
Kraven says, ages ago. Meaning the last time they fought, the time that sent Spider-Man on this psychopathic rampage, wasn't actually between him and Kraven. It was between him and these guys, whose power it is to mind manipulate. So yeah, it makes sense. Spider-Man then tracks down these two guys.
He's here.
Saves MJ, who Spider-Man might have thought was dead. I'm not entirely clear on that one. But unfortunately, during the scuttle, mind manipulation was used on Spider-Man, naturally, leading him to kill one of his friends at the Daily Bugle. Worst part, there were witnesses. J. Jonah Jameson, in the most chill way, says,
Spider-Man is no hero.
But I didn't even feel it in my bones. The most anticlimactic J. Jonah Jameson performance I've ever heard. Then Spider-Man, all torn up inside, goes to get revenge on the twins, and does. Hey, it was crushed under some debris. Classic. But this is the crazy part. We cut to Peter in his apartment the next day. MJ comes to check on him, and he breaks up with her.
MJ, I just can't do this.
Already insane thing to do, but it gets worse. Walks outside of his building, there's a reporter who says something like, the people of New York believe they are better off without Spider-Man. Peter then goes into monologue mode, says, they're right, you know. Being a superhero is impossible. The ones closest to me will always suffer, hold a grudge, or die. I don't want to cause any more pain. I can't live with that burden any longer. It's time for me to say goodbye to Spider-Man. No, this can't be it. Then he throws a briefcase with his Spider-Man suit into the ocean. And that's it. That's how the show ends. Like, what? I mean, respect to this show for doing something different, I guess, but that's crazy. Even if I respect this, it probably isn't the best ending for a character like Spider-Man. Like, what message is this sending? You should give up after failures? Doing the right thing equals being depressed? Damn, it might be realistic, but I don't want that from Spider-Man. Other than the ending, what is there to say? I appreciate the maturity of the show. It seems to place heavy emphasis on Peter Parker's emotions throughout the entire show. So that's good. Neil Patrick Harris was a decent Spider-Man. But bro, the animation was awesome. I know this came out in 2003, but if this is the best they could do, just don't do it. It was done with mocap, which just always looks off in animation. Every character has the most strange muscle makeup imaginable. The cell shading looks bad, as it does in basically every 3D thing pretending to be 2D. The only time it's ever looked good is in the 2 Breath of the Wild games. Try and prove me wrong. So with that said, I think I'm gonna give this show a C. I respect it, but I don't know if I really like it.
I'm not going back to the gulag.
Spectacular Spider-Man is the one show on this list that I've seen the entirety of, mostly because it's one of the best superhero cartoons ever made, in my opinion. Starting off with the title sequence. The title sequence is an S tier. Can I just say that? Can we just be frank? Anyways, let's get into it. Nature vs. Nurture, rated 9.4 on IMDb. So this episode starts with a classic Spider-Man moment, taking out a bunch of robbers while saving a helicopter from crashing into the citizens below. Already this show understands Spider-Man on such a fundamental level. This is Spider-Man. This sequence is brilliantly animated and scored. It's done so triumphantly. I love this, but it's only the start of the episode. We then see Peter check in on his Aunt May, who is recovering from a heart attack. Peter sits down next to her and thinks about what his Uncle Ben said to him before he died.
Uncle Ben said that with great power comes great responsibility. But shouldn't my first responsibility be to the people who rely on Peter Parker?
This, again, shows such a fundamental understanding of the character, and it's crazy. This idea is not only an engaging personal struggle for a character, it's also perfect for Spider-Man. And it's dealt with through the entirety of this episode, but also in the series as a whole. Brilliantly written. We then see Peter at school the next day, and oh my god, every girl is trying to talk to him and make sure he's okay, because in the previous episodes, he was under the symbiote's influence, so he was being kind of whack. But it doesn't matter, they're all still all over him. Look at these looks they're giving each other, it's crazy. But after everyone moves on through the hall, MJ pulls him aside and tells him that Eddie asked her out as a means to hurt Peter. Peter doesn't believe it, so he gives him a call. We then cut to Eddie's apartment, which looks incredible. Not in the context of the show, but from a visuals perspective, it looks so sick. And we see that Eddie is under the influence of the symbiote. Spider-Man. We then cut back to Peter after school. He has to pick up Aunt May from the hospital, but before he goes, he stumbles across the old serum that would cure him from being Spider-Man. Peter again considers why he chooses to be Spider-Man. Is it for the thrill or the good of the city? Before he can finish his thought.
Oh, you don't need to wear a mask with us, Pete. We know all your secrets.
In this moment, Peter learns that Venom obviously infected someone else, but also that it's driven by revenge, which is dangerous because it both knows who he is and everybody that Peter loves.
We know who you are and everyone you care about.
Spider-Man freaks. No! He rushes to the hospital to check on Aunt May, and sure enough, Venom is there. They fight each other, but in the process, Venom calls Peter bro.
We know who you love the most, bro.
Eddie? Which is exactly what Eddie and Peter call each other. Venom escapes. Peter then has to think, besides
Aunt May, who would Eddie believe I loved? Mary Jane.
Spider-Man then heads to the parade where all of his classmates are at to find Gwen hanging from a balloon. He eventually gets her to safety, but with still no way to defeat Venom. He eventually gives in, telling the symbiote that it's one, that he's nothing without it. The symbiote, attracted to the power of Spider-Man, tries to bond with Peter again, but upon doing this, realizes that Peter tricked it.
The emotions all taste wrong. You never wanted us back at all.
Nonetheless, the symbiote still tries to infect Peter, but is stopped by Peter's love for his friends and family. In desperation, the symbiote attempts to crawl back to Eddie, but Peter stops it, taking the symbiote and burying it for good.
Still slow on the uptake, huh? You're a disease. They're the cure.
We then cut back to Aunt May's house, who was driven home by the doctor. Gwen and her dad are also there. After dinner is over, Peter again considers if being Spider-Man is worth letting down the people he loves the most. But he also remembers that Spider-Man saved all of those people too. Peter takes the antidote and pours it down the drain, cementing him as Spider-Man. And after that, Gwen kisses him. The end. This show is incredible. I have nothing but good things to say about it. It understands Spider-Man and Peter Parker at every level, from what his personality should be, where he places his values, what he thinks, and what conclusions he should come to. The characters are also incredible. Peter has such a unique relationship with every single character, which ebb and flow across the entire season, and just episode. Hell, they find a way to make Flash likable.
Thanks for the reality check. Don't mention it. And I mean not to anyone.
This might also be the best version of Venom in any adaptation. The story of this episode and the entire show are fantastic. There's real stakes, real danger, interesting developments at every turn, and the animation and art style is incredible. This art style is different than most superhero cartoons, and I love it for that. I don't know why every other superhero cartoon has to look exactly the same. This style allows Spider-Man and the action to be so fluid and dynamic. The characters are also so much more expressive, and everything is just more colorful. The background aren't gray 3D buildings. And lastly, quick shout out to Josh Keaton. Actually, just the perfect Spider-Man voice actor. S tier, easily. First off, I know I couldn't get the music to align perfectly with the clips just now. It was really hard. Second off, Ultimate Spider-Man is the second Spider-Man cartoon I grew up with as a kid. And honestly, I always kind of liked it, which is weird because I've only heard negative things about this show ever since. I'm interested to see if this show is maybe a tad overhated. Wow, that's interesting. Now, where's the title sequence? F. There isn't one. Great start. This episode starts with the Green Goblin just having a device that can open portals to other dimensions. Green Goblin wants to gather other Spider-Man's DNA for a very special purpose. They don't tell us yet. You gotta watch the other episodes to find out, which we're not gonna do. Whoa! We first go go to Spider-Man 2099's universe, where everything is 3D. Which, yes, looks terrible, but you gotta respect they went through the effort of doing it. Right? Nah, for real, I think it's actually cool they decided to do this. I mean, it's bad. It looks really bad. But anyways, our Spider-Man meets Spider-Man 2099, who is depressed.
With all of my powers, there's always another crook. Nothing I do makes a difference.
He's gonna stop being Spider-Man because crime never stops. But after a quick pep talk from our Spider-Man and a display of some cool spider moves while fighting the Green Goblin.
Whoa, he is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2099 decides to stay Spider-Man. Our Spider-Man then hops through Green Goblin's second portal to another alternate dimension, where women are the dominant gender, which naturally pissed me off.
Oh, okay. I get it now. You're a girl. Wow.
No, I'm joking. There's Petra Parker, there's Nicole Fury, and J. Joanne Jameson, which made me cringe every time they were first introduced.
Sorry, Nicole. I'm gonna be late. I'm dealing with something.
Wait, what? Nicole? Ugh.
Anyways, our Spider-Man meets Spider-Girl, Petra Parker, who is annoyed by being Spider-Girl because she has to be responsible for everything and just gets no thanks for it.
Why do I bother? I stop every villainous in the city and J. Joanna keeps ripping me. It never stops.
But after a quick pep talk from our Spider-Man and a display of some cool spider moves while fighting Green Goblin, Petra Parker decides to look at being Spider-Girl in a different light. Deja vu, I guess. I could have sworn we just went through that exact same storyline. Anyways, the episode ends. The biggest problem with this episode is the writing, which is a pretty integral part of storytelling. As I just made clear, they copied and pasted the same story into the same episode, and it wasn't exactly engaging the first time either. 2099 is boring. Spider-Man is overly sad, only to be completely flipped on the course of the rest of his life after a 5-minute interaction. Spider-Girl is a little too obviously sexist.
And the costume. A boy pretending to be Spidey? Now I've seen everything.
The jokes are forced.
That thing's enormous! Wait, this is $20.99. Maybe the building's made of ultra lightweight material. No, it's really heavy.
Nice joke. I do, however, just straight up like our Spider-Man. I think Drake Bell, despite the controversy, has a fantastic Spider-Man voice and delivers the lines as well as he can.
I know what you're going through. This is hard to believe, and I know that because I find it hard to believe, but I am Spider-Man from a parallel universe. Did I mention I'm not crazy?
I think he actually adds a level of humor that just isn't present in the script, and that's impressive. The animation is also great, probably the best part of this show. It is the standard superhero art style, but it's really smooth, and the coloring and shading is really well done too. Plus, the breaking the fourth wall bits and comic flares are a nice touch too. I'm gonna give this show a C. Marvel's Spider-Man 2017. Marvel's Spider-Man is a show I've never watched and never intended to because all throughout its existence, I've heard nothing but negativity. And I really thought I'd hate this show too, but there's some really good traits behind the terrible character designs and dull visual style. Starting off with the title sequence. F. Not only is it basically non-existent, it copies Ultimate Spider-Man. Vengeance of Venom. Rated 8.5 on IMDb. This episode starts with Spider-Man having word that there's gonna be a symbiote invasion. Oh my god, why are the opening credits the same font as Ultimate Spider-Man? Spider-Man heads to Avengers Tower to meet up with the young Avengers, I guess. It's a super weird lineup, and I hate all of them. Why are these two here? A ship then lands on Avengers Tower. On it are the Avengers, but they're Venom.
Oh no!
They fight back, but lose. Personally, I think Doctor Strange could have taken all of them out, but he doesn't, because of now there's a plot. Spider-Man and Ironheart escape and figure the best way to get rid of all of the Venoms is with Cloak's pocket dimension portal. Yeah, there's a lot of characters in this show. Cloak and Dagger, they're from Marvel Rivals, you probably know them from that. Problem is, he's already been infected. Spider-Man then has another idea. He remembers when Venom first attacked, he left a seed, which he thinks communicated to all the other Venoms that this planet is inhabitable. Maybe if they destroy the seed, all the Venoms will go home. So they do this!
It worked! The ship's leaving!
But unfortunately, Venom Doctor Strange just fixes it, so that's useless. We're now 20 minutes into this 40-minute long episode, and right now, it's kind of sucked so far. But things are about to get pretty okay. Spider-Man escapes alone and watches the city burn as it's infected by Venom. which I like. That's very cool. Look at this shot alone. You wouldn't even think the show looks terrible right now. I love the idea of a one guy versus an apocalypse story. That's just a really cool setup. Anyways, a new character is introduced. But it's okay, he's cool because he's actually Moon Knight. But he doesn't dress up as Moon Knight anymore because he's lost hope and only really saved Spider-Man so he could take the access codes for Avengers Tower off of him, which holds a lot of supplies. While Moon Knight is explaining this to Spider-Man, Spider-Man gets a call from this guy. His name's Max, and it turns out he needs help. Spider-Man promises Moon Knight he'll give him the access code if he helps him save Max. Moon Knight agrees. They get to Max, who shows Spider-Man and Moon Knight that he captured Baby Groot Venom, which is important because Baby Groot Venom's immune system is fighting back against the symbiote quite effectively. Max proposes if he can get Groot into some lab that he might be able to create an anti-venom. So this is now the plan. But Moon Knight refuses to help. He calls them fools for believing this plan will actually work and demands Spider-Man hold up his end of the bargain and give him the access code to Avengers Tower. Spider-Man fights back, but eventually gives in. We then cut to Moon Knight on his own, but he's attacked by a bunch of Venoms. But luckily for him, Aunt May and a bunch of random civilians save him. Moon Knight is like,
"Why are you risking your lives for a stranger?"
Aunt May says we have to have hope, mirroring what Spider-Man said to Moon Knight before.
Moon Knight would never give up. Not when there was even a shred of hope he could win the fight.
We cut back to Spider-Man and Max in the lab trying to create the anti-venom, but they're overwhelmed. But luckily, Moon Knight arrives in the suit. He has hope now. Okay, animation team, pop off. Alright. So they save the world through the power of hope. I was pleasantly surprised by this episode. Sure, this episode had mostly terrible visuals, annoying and childish dialogue.
Well, I'm actually not a real Avenger, though apparently there was an internship program, but I never put together my superhero resume.
Many bad, like really bad characters. But at the end of the day, it also had a really good story to tell, which kind of makes it all worth it, because story is key. Most of all, I really liked Moon Knight's character arc. It developed naturally and it felt earned. Sure, Spider-Man and Aunt May were a little cringe at times when they were trying to get Moon Knight to change his mind about hope. I think they could have been at least a little more defeated when they were telling him. Spider-Man was being really goofy the whole time still, and I think the fact that there was no doubt at all was a little unrealistic. I also appreciated that the characters weren't stupid and made logical decisions throughout the entire episode, except for Doctor Strange. He was taken out way too easily. The Venom invasion is a super cool backdrop for an episode. Sometimes the animation actually did look good, but again, half the experience sucked. So I'm gonna give this show a C. Spidey and his amazing friend. Okay, the title sequence, it's actually pretty hype. When the guy says, I kind of lose my mind, I'm not gonna lie. It's like next second it's gonna have to put this one in A, boys. Spidey and his amazing friends is another 2-in-1 situation. So first up, we got the friendly neighborhood.
The friendly neighborhood.
I'm so excited. This one starts with Peter, Gwen, and Miles, who are the amazing friends, which I gotta say, it makes way more sense than Iceman and Firestar setting up a party, and everyone's gonna be there, including Iron Man, which is weird because in this series, all the spider people are kids. They're 5. They're legitimately 5.
Let's all sing together. Yes!
And Iron Man is not. He looks maybe 25 at least. Maybe 40. He could be 40. Anyways, they're setting up this party, and then Zola shows up and starts stealing the party.
This party shall be mine!
What the hell's wrong with this guy? Peter, Gwen, and Miles start looking for Zola and find that he's stealing a bunch of party materials.
Zola used a device to steal all the cakes from my bakery.
He obviously wants to set up his own party. They eventually see Zola stealing balloons. When Zola's stealing the balloons, the balloon guy is like,
Dude, where's my car?
Which is a reference to the 2000s movie, Dude, Where's My Car? About 2 guys that get high and start looking and lose their car. That one's for the parents. In order to get away though, Zola almost kills somebody, which is crazy. In this show, all the villains are more just like nuisances. They're not necessarily villains, they're just kind of brats. But in this one scenario, yeah, Zola does try and kill somebody. No one's going to your party, bro. But the spider people stop that from happening. But unfortunately, Zola gets away in doing so.
So we need to find his party. But how?
And then Gwen remembers they had a karaoke machine that was really loud, so they can just detect the city for really loud noises. I don't know how they have this technology. They don't even try and sell it as something that would really exist.
Please scan the area for loud singing.
Scanning now.
What? So they know exactly where he is, and they go stop him. It's really sad. Zola's just having a party on his own.
It's over, Zola. No!
It is okay, Zola. Do not cry.
It's my party and I can cry if I want to.
That's another reference. So the Spider Gang gets all their party material back and sings a song. I believe this is the only reason this episode was rated highest out of the whole show. Nothing in this episode blew me away. I think they just decided to put a song in this one because it's the first episode of the season. And the critics really vibed with that, I guess. The song's decent, by the way. Is that Reptilian from Superhero Squad? Anyways, next episode, Flight of the Butterfly. Again, instead of a villain, we have an annoying Sandman who just wants to show off that he can do this tornado of sand to everybody, but no one cares.
Wait till they see my sand fly around. Pretty cool, huh?
Sorry, bro. Butterflies are way cooler.
Anyways, Sandman stumbles across the butterfly area garden, and he hates that the butterflies are getting all the attention, so he catches them and traps them on Goblin Island. When the Spider Gang eventually figure this out, they save all the spiders and bring them back to the flower garden, and the episode's over. There's stuff in between, but you don't care. That's this cool Stood Up song. That's kind of neat. They're brave and clever. He's got the Jordans in this too. All right, what do you want from me? It's a baby show, so yeah, it's bad. But see, the thing is, baby don't care. Baby sees Spider-Man, baby like. Baby see black Spider-Man, baby not racist. Now we win. This show's a C. It does everything it sets out to do, and honestly, it has a more appealing art style than many other shows on this list. They don't like your sand, asshole. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was a show I was incredibly hyped for when it was first announced. It wasn't going to be connected to the MCU. Its visuals were inspired by Golden Age comics. It was story-oriented. It was going to be slightly more mature in nature. It sounded great. But all of that was basically ruined when we first saw this.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I've been better, but I definitely could have been worse.
I'm worse. It looked terrible. The characters were talking cringe, so I lost all hope. Which is why it was so surprising when I first saw that this show was getting decent reviews. When I started making this video and saw that the last episode was the highest rated, I decided to watch the full thing on my own, so I wouldn't ruin it for myself. And I'm happy to say I got good things to say about it. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be honest? I don't mind this title sequence at all. I feel like there's some level of shame attached to that statement, but it's not too bad. Its visuals are my favorite part. I feel like this is the vision, and it didn't quite come to fruition in the entire show, but here they achieved greatness. Also, the music's not bad. I don't really like the idea that it's just a remixed version of the 60s cartoon intro. First, the MCU main Spider-Man theme, and now this? I think we just gotta move on. But despite that, I'll give it a B. So this episode starts with Peter being late to class because he's saving someone as Spider-Man. Classic. We then cut to Oscorp where Peter interns. Norman Osborn, who knows Peter as Spider-Man in this show by the way, takes Peter and the other interns into this huge room with a portal in the center.
A gateway? Dr. Connors, did you know about this?
No. What's this all about, Norman?
Turns out the technology the interns were working on throughout the show was for a space teleportation device, which they had no idea they were making. This is bad, not only because it's kind of a betrayal of their trust, but also because Earth has kind of been screwed over by portals in the past.
We've already seen this type of technology utilized on Earth. Thor's arrival in New Mexico. The Chitauri invaders here in New York.
Okay, this is a weird thing about this show. It's definitely not connected to the MCU. Like, definitely. But some things from the MCU still apply here, which I hate. I feel like just choose, right? Like, is it or is it not? It's not a big deal, it's just annoying. Anyways, before Norman Osborn turns on the portal, Doctor Strange arrives to say, don't do that, but he does.
You have to shut it down now!
Oh, dude, what the hell is that? Wait, I think it's Venom! Why are there so many Venoms in this video? So Spider-Man and Doctor Strange have to get it back through the portal before it's too late. During the scuffle, Doctor Strange sends himself and Venom back in time to the day Peter got his spider powers. While they're there, a spider from the present goes through the portal and bites past Peter, which is the spider that gives Peter his powers. So it's like a looping timeline thing, which I guess is cool. I don't know, kind of unnecessary, but it's fine. After a couple cool visuals...
What? Where?
Oh, see, that looked cool.
Look, I get it. You came to visit, and you're loving New York.
Damn, that looked nice. That's cool, dude. You see what I'm saying?
On it.
That's cool too. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange get the Venom monster back through the portal. But of course, not without leaving a little bit of symbiote behind. Spider-Man then has a final chat with his friends about leaving Oscorp for a new company Harry is starting. Then talks to Doctor Strange about everything happening for a reason. Then set up for season 2, 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 and that's it.
Let's go.
Yo! Oh! So this episode is basically a big action scene and set up for season 2, so I honestly don't think it actually is the best episode. In my opinion, I think that title probably goes to like episode 7. That's got a lot more character moments. But this episode still does highlight a lot of the show's strengths, but also its weaknesses. Some of the things I liked in terms of its storytelling. First off, Norman Osborn's characterization. I like that he's obviously going to turn evil, but isn't like a cackling villain yet. He tricked Peter and a bunch of young kids into helping him build something potentially dangerous, but not overtly evil, you know what I'm saying? And he's still kind of like apologetic. I also like that Peter was tricked by Norman. It conveys his youth and inexperience. And it also adds an interesting factor to their dynamic, since Norman knows Peter is Spider-Man. I also like that this show spends a lot of time on the human side of Peter's life. You would think that's obvious, but many of the other shows just neglect that entirely. I will say, however, I dislike how the characters speak a lot of the time. The dialogue and performances are really on the nose, or like unnatural, or just unfunny. Spider-Man has a few good quips, but nothing great.
I got the battery working again.
And also the Spider-Man voice actor is also just fine. But now the visual. My final take is they're not bad, which it's honestly a decent review. Earlier in this video, I said that cel-shaded animation only has ever looked good in one thing, and that's Breath of the Wild. And I still think that's true. But this show almost pulls it off. Sometimes I do see the vision. I like the comic book flares implemented throughout the show. For some reason, whenever there's a border around it, I think it looks 10 times better. But there are also other times where it just looks bad. Times where it just doesn't work, dude. There's also a couple instances throughout the show where the 2D background characters are insanely distracting. There are also moments where the animation, as in like the motion of the characters, is really choppy. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just wish it was 2D. The concept art in the credits and some of the photos throughout the show, which are done in 2D, look amazing. And even when the show looks decent, it will always be a disappointment compared to the 2D versions of these characters. But overall, I do like this show. I think it is the best Spider-Man show since Spectacular Spider-Man, so I'm gonna put it an A. Thanks for watching. In my watching one episode from every Batman cartoon video I made, I did like an awards thing at the end. I did like best moment, best Batman, best animation and stuff. But I'm not gonna do that here, because best version of everything is from Spectacular Spider-Man. I thought about it for a while, but nothing even comes close to anything in that show, so definitely watch that if you haven't. Spider-Man has had a decent run in cartoons. Most of them are pretty mid with a few standouts. If I could give any advice to the next person who makes a Spider-Man cartoon, definitely put equal focus on Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Make it 2D, please, for the love of God. I don't want any more MCU synergy. I'm sick of it, and maybe stay away from Venom and the multiverse. It's been done. Here's both tier lists, and here's every cartoon ranked from my favorite to my least favorite. Thanks for watching. Subscribe!